Hey, Kingdom Living community, welcome back. This is Rise Up, the Wednesday show, but this is part of a series. This is number 4. So if you've missed the others, parts 1 through 3, please go back and make sure that you catch that because this is an ongoing work. This is a 40-day thing. So this is, and it's exceptional. And for you to get the most out of it, you're going to want to back up if you haven't already. So start back at 1, 2, and 3. There'll be release of the foreign marriages, delighting in the Lord, and then destroying sexual altars. And then today is number 4 in that fast series about tearing down and building up. So you're going to rise up with this one and make sure that you are building up in the right ways. And so before we get into that, make sure you're getting your notebooks and your pens and your Bible and all of that. And the resource that's been mentioned in several of the episodes for the fast is are we gonna do the whoop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yours shows the right way. No.
Yours shows the right way on my screen. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to want to pick that book up if you can. It'll just be helpful for you, but you don't need it for the portions that Jesse's been leading through on this fast, because she's going to be reading from it, and then you get to just repeat along with and get these altars cleared and out of your life. So before we get going, a reminder that the next live recording VIP weekend for Jesse's next course is coming up, Rise of the Righteous. Woo! So that's March 24th through 26th, Tampa, Florida. And so make sure you go to kingdomlivingwithjessie.com to get your tickets. It's going to be an amazing time with more of a retreat kind of feel.
That's right.
Family fun, worship, like the whole ball of wax. The recording,
it's amazing there, I'm telling you. We're gonna have a nice Friday is gonna be a night together. We'll have dinner, we'll do a Q&A. It's just gonna be really nice and relaxed. And then Saturday we kick off with the 4 sessions for the course, and also we'll have an amazing lunch. I don't know how many of you have the last time you got to get out and sit on a beautiful porch or out in the yard, like a picnic style. But this is the type of place where it just reminds me of, some of the places in my childhood where I just love to sit outside, enjoy others' company, and just sit in the Lord's presence. So it's going to be really an excellent time together, refreshing, renewing. So I encourage you, if you can make it for the live, you definitely don't want to miss out.
That's going to be exciting. And those that have been through the first courses, you're going to be extra excited because you already got to see the extraordinary artwork that Terry does. And God gave her such an amazing gift to illustrate and paint. It's just beautiful. Jesse's visions, memories, experiences, encounters with the Lord. And so she's captured all of that, as a lot of you know from the first set of courses, because you got to see them in the course material. And if you were there at the last recording, you got to see the pieces there live, and the journal books. I forgot about that. Those
right?
Cool journaling books.
But there's going to be more because the Lord's continued to give her more. So it's just so amazing to work with her, and it's fantastic. It's going to be exciting. So
it's awesome that all of the cool spiritual stuff and courts and different things that she's been able to like, she gets it. She's like, oh, I gotta paint that. It's like, yes,
right.
It's so good. It's like part of the victory, part of the prophetic victory to have those photographs, so to speak, of those moments. So that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, exciting. So yeah, make sure that you go to kingdomlivingwithjessie.com to go and get those. And if you really want to come to the second round of all of this and you haven't done the first, you should probably go there and get the first set of courses and start working on that, so that by the time it comes to be the end of March, you make sure you're up to speed before she launches into the Rise of the Righteous. I'm so excited about that.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. All right. So number 4 in the series.
Yeah, so we're going to start, it's important to understand that as we begin to tear down or destroy these evil altars in our lives, that it's important to balance that out by raising up and establishing the right way that we're to live. If we don't, what's going to happen is, many people will have those spirits come back, continue to tempt them. As you fall into those temptations and sins again, they're just going to rebuild an altar there in that place. So, we're trying to prevent that, because they'll not only build one, they'll invite all their friends to come back and, destroy you with them. So it's important to focus on that and to work on building that right relationship with the Lord. So last time we talked about, delighting in the Lord and what that looked like. Tonight, we're going to start to talk about honor in our relationship with God and with one another. And, it's kind of a harder concept to understand, but if we put it into a nutshell, really honor deals with, the way that we present ourselves to others. So it includes our words, our body language, even the things that we maybe don't say, our appearance, our eye contact. So all of that plays a part in that honor. And, the Lord's desire is for us to have right relationships with Him. The first thing that I would say, is involved in that honor is respect. Our heart attitude towards that person. If you think about respect, that deals a lot with the communication as well as with action. So how do we communicate with somebody, and how do we act both non-verbally as well as physically towards them? When we think about relationships that we respect, like I think back to, one of my great grandmothers. She was very good at greeting people. So, whenever you were on your way, she would be watching for you. Even before you got to the door, the moment the car pulled in, she would be listening and waiting, and she would be opening that door, and she'd be running out to take us in her arms and give us big hugs and kisses, right? The same thing when we stayed overnight at her house. She would, always be up earlier than us. She would sit there and wait and listen. The moment, she heard us stirring, she would be excited and would be engaging, and, what do you want for breakfast? And how can I, what can I make for you? How did you sleep? So there was a level of respect there that, so with that, there's a lot of different things like, the communication. So think about that in your relationships, especially if your relationship is struggling. I think back to a time when I had my 3 shoulder surgeries. My communication towards my family was not good. I was in so much pain, and nothing would lift that pain. Like it was just intense pain all the time. If one of the kids was even walking across the living room in front of me, that bear in me would be like, be like, stop, just don't take another step, right? And I particularly would get mad around food because I felt so helpless. Like I couldn't, I could not for the life of me with my left hand cook myself something. So it meant I couldn't have any food that I had to get off the stove. I couldn't open a can or open a jar. I could get the fridge door open, you know, and I was hoping I could open a Ziploc bag, but let me tell you, those Ziploc bags are really difficult to open one-handed. It just wasn't happening. And I'd be sitting there like with my teeth trying to get that bag open, and it still wouldn't work. And I would get so frustrated because I'd be so hungry, you know, that it would just be like, okay, somebody get me something, make me something, you know. So, you know, think about that, like in your communication, you know, start to, if it's not what it should be, you know, start to listen how you interact with others. How do you communicate? There should be a giving and a receiving. And one of the things that, you know, I look for in relationships is, you know, I had past relationships with friends where there was not an equal yoke. Like those people, they would ask questions that would cause me to have to be very vulnerable and, you know, to go very deep. There was like a expectation that I would trust them. And, you know, their questions would imply that I could trust them with the deep things they were asking me to share. But what I began to realize was that again was not equally yoked, because then when I would ask the same questions, they wouldn't want to share. They wouldn't want to give any depth or vulnerability or trust, you know. So assess that in your relationships. That communication line needs to be equal in vulnerability, and there has to be that equal give and receive. And how you receive is important. You know, if somebody says something to you, you know, you have the opportunity to carry the conversation on by how you respond, or to immediately shut it down. And if you're constantly immediately shutting down the relationship, you know, the communication line in the relationship because you want to go do something else, well, then you're really not investing in that relationship. And, you know, you're not receiving well, nor are you giving well. So those are important things to look at when we talk about respect. The other is the nonverbal language. Now, here's where we might get, you know, I guess I'll say men and women. I can't I can't just pick one or the other. But one of the biggest influencers in relationships is either the television, the phone, or the computer. That our attention is driven, you know, or disposed someplace else, and our family comes, they're trying to speak with us, and we're engaged with our eyes, yep, and all that. And I know that's an area where I myself am guilty, you know, at times. So work on, you know, putting that down. You know, when you set aside your time with the Lord, it needs to be his time. Nobody else, no other distractions. When people come to you, whether it's your spouse or your children, put everything down and give them your full attention. Some of the things you know, that's where the body language comes in, you know, and this is such a beautiful imagery of an example of what we're talking about. Scripture talks about the Lord turning his face towards us. And, you know, there's something to that face and that, you know, face to face, eye to eye contact that is vitally important to a healthy relationship. We don't want to withhold that from each other. So, you know, work on turning your face towards and giving that full attention, giving your ear and being attentive to what they're saying. Repeat back or paraphrase what you hear being said. We did a great episode on that. I think we called it something like What I Hear or What Am I Hearing? Something like that at the beginning.
Can you hear me? I think.
Right. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Do you hear me?
And we talked about a very helpful tool that I had learned in chaplain school, where as we're listening to people say stuff, we repeat back, um, but in different words. So, I would say, I hear you saying, and then you're going to repeat back what you heard. And that gives them the chance to say, well, no, that's not exactly what I was saying, or that's not exactly what I meant. And that keeps the conversation going. So that's a really good tool. I encourage people, if you're having issues with that communication, go back and watch that. Um, so we also then have, the third part of that respect. You've got the communication, you have the things that you're doing non-verbally and the non-verbal language, but you also have the physical language. And we want that to be healthy too. I think about, again, going back to my grandmother, where, she would always put a hand on either the top of my head or on my shoulder, or like kind of on around my back whenever I was talking to her. Now, what was funny about that was that in honesty, it would make me feel uncomfortable, because what it did was it automatically drew me to a closer place to her. Like, it would draw me closer to her, because, beyond arm's length, it draw me in. And I wasn't used to that type of physical closeness with somebody, or talking to them that close. But, as I look back, it's so needed, because really, in my life, that was really the only physical affection that I received. And it was important, that somebody would touch my head or play with my hair, rub my back, rub my shoulder. That physical touch is really important. And we need to start, putting that back into our relationships. Um, that's one of the first things that goes when there's relational problems in a marriage, is that people start withholding and withdrawing. And with the withdrawing, you get further and further and further away, to where I've seen, that marriages, like, they'll have a fight that they can't reconcile. Next thing, one of them's sleeping on the couch. Well, then they've got to rearrange the house because they haven't solved the problem, and now they have to have separate bedrooms. And from there, they're coming and going, and they're not even seeing each other, really living in the same house together. You know, they're like strangers coming and going in the night. So, that lack of physical action really, keeps that distance in a relationship. And, I know for myself that many times, like, even with, I think back to even my abusive relationships, especially with my proctor, that, when she would be doing things that would hurt me, or, made me so angry that I wanted to turn away, there was always that moment where it's like I just wanted her to have that shift, to, I wanted her to stop the hurt, whether it was emotional or physical or verbal. I just wanted the hurt to stop, the arrows that were flying at me to stop. And when I turned away, there was that part of my heart that said, come after me, draw me back, like, just take me in your arms and hug me, and tell me you're sorry, because I wanted to forgive. I wanted that right relationship. So, thinking about that in your relationships, like, where are those moments? Like, can you break that anger enough to just start drawing towards yourself? Because that's exactly what the Lord does. He draws us towards himself. And it says, in Isaiah 12, that it says, I praise you, O Lord, for although you were angry, your anger has turned away, and you comfort me. And that word comfort has that idea of like a mother hen's wings that come in and scoop you up and scoop you close to the heart. So, we need to start making that shift happen in the relationship, not allowing the withdrawing or the driving away, start drawing towards, pulling in. Um, the other thing is that's part of, honoring where we put others' needs before our own. Acknowledging that we've hurt others, that's a very vulnerable place to be, to ask forgiveness when we've done something wrong. And it is really important to be able to um, confess those things. That's what the Lord desires of us, is to, go to them personally, to address what was our sin and to ask forgiveness for it. And, you know, that's what he wants us to do. There's a beautiful, beautiful relationship that I encourage people look up and see, what videos you can find. But that's of Joni Eareckson Tada and her husband. Um, I don't know his name, but I will never forget the video I saw with him. She is somebody who had been in an accident that paralyzed her. She was, has done singing throughout the years. She does a lot of encouragement with um, the books that she's written, and she goes out and does talks and things like that. But with her singing and her paralyzation, I guess there was a point in time where it got worse for her, where she wasn't able to, control her stomach muscles to be able to sing. So the video that I saw, showed her getting ready for a concert, and her husband kneels down next to her and will put his hand on her stomach. And then, it takes so much attention and awareness towards her, and knowing, exactly what she's doing or thinking. But anyway, he pushes on her stomach to release that air up so that she can sing. If he didn't do it, there wouldn't be any sound coming out from her. So, to me, there was just no better example of somebody who laid their life down. Here she is paralyzed, but her desire is to serve the Lord and to have this amazing ministry. And he's behind the scenes making it happen, doing whatever he can to help her so that she has that ministry. So, such a beautiful example for us to look at. And that's really, where God wants all of us in our relationships, is that each of us need to live in such a way so that, that we are helping others walk in the way that God has chosen for them to walk, and completing the good works that he's given them to do. So the third thing, and this one's a hard one. We were talking about this one beforehand. The third thing in honor is clearly expressing your needs, your likes, your desires and your wants, and your dislikes and the things that make you uncomfortable. Now, Tracy, where would you put yourself on a scale? Like, do you think, is it easier for you, or let's just ask, do you struggle to share with others your likes, your desires, and your true wants? Like, you're not just, saying, oh, this is my favorite ice cream. Like, we're talking right about the vulnerability, the things that you don't tell people, like, what type of pajamas you like to wear going to bed, right? I mean, there's certain details that we just don't put in our lives because, only those really that we're in intimate relationships need to know. But is that something that is easy for you or difficult?
I guess it depends on what it is. Sometimes it's easier than others, but for me, it's easier to slip into almost a ministry mode where my wants and needs don't matter because the person in front of me does. And so a lot of times I'll leave out things altogether that I don't tell friends. And it's just like this giant omission because I'm not even considering my own needs or wants. I always put them in the background.
Right.
And that's not helpful in relationships. And like that's how you end up with, like, I've heard married people talk about little things that maybe like the husband or the wife, like when they first met, they did some little thing. Maybe, I don't know why I'm getting the imagery of an umbrella drink, but I'm seeing one of those little umbrella guys like that and just because at the first time they met, the one received that, was like, oh, that's amazing, I just love those, and there's no clarification on that, then 50 years later there's all these little umbrellas, paper umbrellas. It's a ridiculous way to put it, but it's like the clarification was never there, so it just is an ongoing thing that never was in the first place, but because you never said, I really don't like that, or I really don't like
it just keeps coming. You're like,
just keeps coming. Yes, exactly.
And then it starts to get annoying, and then you start to get outright mad about it because you're like, I really don't like that.
Yes, you resent it, and they're like, well, what? The first time, like, I thought I was doing a good thing because the first time we went out on a date, this is what I got you, and you were so excited, so I thought you liked that this whole time. And it's like, no. But
right, that happens a lot with food and drinks. You're right, that we, oh yeah, you don't want to tell them that you don't like the meatloaf. You're just gonna eat it to be polite, you're gonna make it look good. But then every time you come over, darn it, they got the meatloaf, and you're like, huh. And they're like, well, I made you your favorite thing. And you're like, well, thank you.
It's like better to go ahead and rip the bandage off and tell the truth and be vulnerable and all of that, because there's so many misunderstandings that can happen, even with the non-verbal things, especially. I mean, right. My goodness, it can send somebody in the wrong direction for years if you cannot.
Well, and I think there's a decent way, like there's an honoring, respectful way to do it too, where you don't have to be like, I hate meatloaf, or this is disgusting, I don't want to eat it. Like, you don't have to be rude or mean. One of the better ways I found to do it is you share something more about yourself. So you simply say, wow, thank you. I appreciate so much that you made me dinner. This was great. And then you're going to share, one of my most favorite meals to eat is, so now they know that what you really like, right? Mm-hmm. And hopefully, I mean, you could come straight out and say, I rarely eat meatloaf. It's not one of my favorites, but I did, thank you for making this. It was good, but I don't eat it a lot. It's not a favorite of mine, but I really like this, and maybe we can plan, and maybe next time I can cook for you. What are some of your favorite meals, and turn it into an ongoing relationship, or communication. What do you like to eat? What's your favorite? Now, if they say meatloaf, well, you're just gonna have to either suck it up or, Exactly. But that's usually a good way to avoid like making them feel bad, or, if you honor the time, the effort, yes. the way it was given, yes. Bring all that out. I appreciate that you even set the table. How nice was that to have a home cooked meal? Thank you for making me feel so valued and special. I appreciate that. And, when you let it.
I'm so sorry. I'm laughing so hard on the inside. I need to share it on the outside, even though it's kind of lame. Here's an example of what not to do.
Okay, don't do this.
There's a male member of my family who, after consuming anything that is like not exceptional, is like, well, thank you very much. Yeah, that was great. And you don't need to make that again. That's okay. obvious. That's really obvious. That's like
Well, I guess I would rather maybe have that, have it put another way, but
yeah, just be absolved of making the meatloaf ever again. It's really
okay. We have to clarify, we don't encourage, don't throw the plate, don't go throw it in the trash, don't insult or tear down because they've made something that's horrible. I even had one of my in my first years of marriage, my ex got super excited and you know got a new juicer, and he was juicing everything. And he's a very excellent chef, but he got this idea that he was going to make chicken with a special sauce. And what he did was he juiced green peppers and poured it over the chicken and baked it. Now, me trying to be the nice, kind person, I sat there and I suffered through and I ate every single bite and it was sitting there like, God, just help me swallow it. Because I didn't want to hurt his feelings, right?
Yeah.
Well, he looked like he was nibbling too, right? And he waited until I had finished the last bite. And I'm not even kidding. Like I had just finished that last bite. And he says, well, that was really bad. Do you want to go out and get something to eat? I was like, no, you did not just do that to me. So we have to work on this honesty thing, people, and the honor and respect.
No keeping up appearances, just be
Right. When he made the mac and cheese and accidentally dumped like half the jar of dill. He knew I liked that taste of dill, but he dumped half the jar of dill in that mac and cheese. And I was like, no, I did not let him cook with dill ever again.
That's funny. I've never heard of that before in my life. Somebody like salt and pepper, but never like the jar of dill. Like, I mean, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But that's a good memory. It's, it teaches about the honor that we need to have in the openness and relationships, that if we, men, women, if it's bad, just don't make the other person suffer through it, just say, hey, this didn't turn out. Let's figure something else out here and give them the out that they need.
Yes, that is the loving, honoring thing to do. Recognize the out. Go ahead and provide it and move on.
Suck it up and move on. That's right. So all of that, as we begin to really share, the depth of our intimate desires, wants, and likes, that's probably the hardest place to go. And when I look back, it's actually really funny. When I entered into the one chaplain residency program, they give you this massive questionnaire that you have to answer every question, and they tell you that you cannot leave any question unanswered. I'm usually if somebody gives instructions, I like to follow them to the T. But as I went through this, all of a sudden there was all these sexual questions on there. And I was like, really, this is not your darn business, right? Because I grew up where you didn't talk about affection. You didn't talk about those things. You didn't openly display it in public. That was something that was just between a man and his wife in their personal space, and nobody else got to know, right? So, but what it taught me was that, really, like, we have to be at that place of vulnerability. And it doesn't mean that we just are vulnerable with the whole world, with our most intimate things, but are we, intimate with those that are most or who are the closest to us in our lives? Your husband, your wife, that's somebody that God designed you to be intimate with. So are you withholding those intimacies, not sharing with them what you really like or desire? Or are you opening up, having that conversation? That is what builds trust. And there's a lot of distrust in marriages and relationships. So there's only one way to right that. We have to start to communicate those likes and dislikes and wants and desires. And we have to start building that trust with each other. Trust is a two-way street as it's given. We have to receive it and we have to be faithful with it. Like we have to, honor that person with that trust, not use it as a weapon against them or use it to insult them or tear them down. It's really a sacred honor that God gives, to have that place of trust in a relationship. It's a good word for that the Lord's been showing me is, goes back to early Genesis, where the Lord first commands about the relationship between a husband and a wife. And he says that, they shall be joined together, they shall be naked, and they shall be unashamed. So there's that nakedness is not just physical. There's also that deep emotional, spiritual connection with each other that, you can openly display that and talk about things and not be ashamed or not be shaming one another as you bring out things. So, make it fun. I've known some couples that they they will sit there and have the talk and conversations, and then they'll go and test it out. They'll plan out something to encourage one another in that, to make each other's desires and wants come true. So that mindfulness, and that's part of listening, that when we act on what we've heard, we're really helping the other person feel like they're being listened to. And all of that leads to the last two things as we talk about honor, which is, get excited to spend time together. If you're not excited to spend time with your spouse, you need to shift that and change it. If they're not excited to spend time with you, you need to really figure out what is going on in that relationship. Because, it's ultimately meant to display that relationship that we have with Christ. And there's a disconnect. And I think that part of that disconnect comes through, the spiritual unequally yoked part, where you'll have one spouse that's really spiritual, really close with God, and then you have another one that's not. And, God is excited to spend time with us. So, that spouse that's closest to God is excited. They want to make that relationship work. They want to spend time with that person. But then you get, the other side where you've got the spouse that isn't excited about the relationship, and they definitely, aren't excited about the things about God. And, how do we shift that? And the shift comes in putting into practice a very simple truth. The Lord prepares for us. He prepares good works in advance. He prepares a place. He, prepares for those conversations, for that time of intimacy. He's always waiting for us to come. So how do we then implement that into our relationships? Well, are we creating moments? Do we prepare for moments of loving one another? And here's where, again, I think last week we addressed this a little bit. Spice it up. We're meant to display that amazing marriage relationship between Christ and his church. So why do we have dull, unfruitful, stagnant marriages? We're meant to really live, really love, really enjoy and delight in one another. And that's meant to be displayed, before the world. So I encourage people, we don't want to know the intimate sexual things, but we do want to know because, this is a learning and a growing experience for all of us. So, as you go through this week, think what can you do, to create that intimacy with your spouse, to prepare for those moments together, to invest in one another. Share that, share what you come up with. We want fun, we want creative. We want to see, husbands and wives delighting in each other, laughing, having joy. Or if you're working towards that type of relationship, again, how are you honoring the Lord in that relationship? What are the things that you're doing to woo or pursue or to advance that relationship where God wants it to be? I'm just going to be firm. Like we said, this is your sex talk for the year. It's the best one you're ever going to get. And so I just have to include in there, God says if you're not married, you have to create those moments without them being sexual, without, going into that area of sexual sin. So, I am a firm believer in abstinence if you're not married.
Amen.
So I'm just going to put that out there. But, let's hear your creative ideas of how you can begin to be building, that trust, that honoring, that respect for one another in developing those relationships. If you're, dating or single and you're moving into that phase with somebody where, you're wanting to move into courtship or marriage. So, we want to hear about it because we want to share these things. We want to give good, healthy ideas to others in that same space. Let us know what you're doing. If you're really struggling with sin, we want to know about that too. We can pray for you and get people lifting you up, helping you through those struggles. One of the other things I want to address before we go tonight is the critical spirit. I see that really there's a few things really behind that. One is a spirit of perfectionism, a spirit of do it myself, a spirit of being unsatisfied, being a bad receiver and being judgmental, and also the silence and the withdrawing. So if you're struggling with that, or you're in a relationship where you're dealing with somebody who's just really critical, there needs to be a shift there. If they're not at a place where they can receive anything that you have to give in that relationship, then you need to be talking to the Lord about that, because, it's just not what the Lord desires for us. There's no fruit being born in that. And with that, I see a lot of body shaming and appearance criticisms. So I just, we need to break it. And the best way to do that is just in prayer, rebuke that spirit, and really we need to start making that shift with our words. The Lord is our provider. The Lord is the one who knit us in our mother's wombs. None of us had an option or a choice when God made us about our appearance or our looks. None of us had a choice about, what body type we were going to have or how our body would continue to work and operate as we got older. We do have choices about things that affect our appearance in our body. The things that we can control or change are our diet, exercise, the way we dress, the way we do our hair, our makeup. So those are all things that we can change if we're not happy with it, or if our spouse or the person we are in a relationship with is not happy with it. Now, what I don't want to see is I don't want, you know, any of you going out and starting to tell, you know, your spouse or the person you're in a relationship with all the things that you dislike about their appearance. That is not where we're going with this.
Not
Especially
if
if
you
it's
want to live
things.
through the end of the year, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't encourage you saying, hey, like, babe, you need to diet, or, tonight you're getting a salad. These are not good things to say. It's not how we change, unhealthy habits. I find that the best way to, you know, help somebody is through encouragement. But you don't want the fake, you don't want to lie to them, you don't want to say, you're the most beautiful girl in the world when they know that and they feel like they're not. That's just going to be a mocking, it's going to tear down more. And it just adds to that feeling of, I'm not, I'm not that. So don't do that. But what you can do is, start to ask the Lord to show you what to say, what you can be thankful for, or what you do enjoy. Um, and then start repeating back to them those little phrases like, thank you. I appreciate so much every night that you prepare and set that dinner table. I appreciate the time you spend making dinner and cleaning up afterwards. I, I'm thankful that you serve me, that you bring me this food. Thank you for that. That makes me feel special. Um, Maybe that's something surprisingly you can go do yourself the next time. Wake up early, make breakfast for them and serve them, or make a nice dinner, prepare things, arrange things for them. Um, you know, One of the funniest things I ever saw was it actually was really cute and sweet, but I was in a church and there was a younger mom. She had like three little kids and they were sitting kind of like spaced out between her and her spouse and stuff. And the little boy on the end, all of a sudden, he like reaches up and he has his arm behind her, but he starts like he's just like stroking and rubbing her hair and playing with it. And it was so cute. But I sat there and I was like, well, what a cute expression of love that he's taking the time just to touch and to play and to show his mom that he loves her hair. And, you know, so be playful with one another, appreciate one another. Like, when is the last time, Tracy, like you sat there with one of your parents or something and were like, so how was your day? you know? Not that I'm not saying I'm comfortable with that myself, but the thought's there, that like, do we actually like sit there and, like I talked about with my great grandmother, that she would use those things to kind of draw me closer to her. What are we doing to draw that person closer to us as we're talking to them? You know? So we're all here. We need a list of creative ideas, people. I need help with this. I'm not an expert. I'm going to say that, but the Lord's put it on my heart. So here we are. Another thing you can say is, complimenting. But again, don't do the fake
attached.
things. Yeah, I used to sit there like the Lord had told me with some of my coworkers that they really needed words of encouragement and compliments. So I purposely, whenever I was interacting, with them in a visit, I would be looking for stuff that I could then write a little note later and slip it into their box at work. And I would say the things that I appreciated. Like, one of them, she would always get down on her knees when she was dealing with people in wheelchairs. And so she could look at them eye to eye, and she would give them space and time to talk. And so I wrote her a little note and said, I just think it's absolutely beautiful, the attention that you give to people. And, I noticed with this, patient that you knelt down, you were looking her in the eyes, and, even you were rubbing her arm, and, and she took your hand, and I saw that response that she loved just having that physical touch from you. And it looked like, it brought her so much joy and peace. And I love that you treat people like that. And, it's just such a pleasure to work with you. So things like that, finding things that you could say to your spouse or the person that you're in relationship with that gives them that encouragement. Have they dropped everything in their schedule because you forgot something at home to make sure to get it to you? Have they surprised you with a lunch at work when you had a busy day? Or, maybe it's even as simple as every morning when you get up, the coffee's already made and in the cup exactly the way you like to drink it. Maybe it's all the towels, are folded just the way you like them, or your clothes are folded or hung just the way you like them, and they're all exactly where you want them to be, right? Somebody does that. Somebody has to be mindful and pay attention to the way you like things in order to arrange it the way you like it. So thank them, encourage them with that. That's a moment to say, wow, you were working so hard all day, you know, come sit down, cuddle with me on the couch, and give that physical attention that they might need. Turn off the TV, look them in the eyes, hold them close, and just let them tell you about their day, even if it's, well, I ironed the sheets and I folded all the laundry and I ran after children and I did school with them and I cooked dinner, you know, appreciate that, because, work at home is just as hard as work out in the public at times. We've got a lot of moms or dads who really do a lot in the home. So show your appreciation for that. And last is, maybe your spouse or relationship has that quirky, unique thing that drives you crazy in their appearance. Maybe, like little alfalfa, they got that hair that always wants to stick straight up in that colic. I want to be funny here because I know my reaction would probably just to be like licking my fingers, be like, I don't encourage that. Find a way, if it's something that drives you crazy, find a way to encourage them in a different direction or to do something different, but do it in a nice way. Maybe you could be like, I'm thinking of getting a haircut. What do you think? What styles should I keep it short, keep it long? I don't know. Talk to them about stuff and maybe encourage them, maybe it's time to get a different hairstyle. There's a point where sometimes you just got to be bold. You got to point out the obvious, but that's part of it. When we think about that, honoring, we don't want the people that we're in relationship with to be constantly out in public where a lot of people are thinking bad things about them or, saying bad things about their appearance. So, I appreciate those. Like if I put on something that does not look good on me, like we go shopping together sometimes, but if I have it and it doesn't look good, I want my friends to tell me, I don't want them having me go out and then people being like, wait, what? Why is she wearing bright orange pants?
And this
with
is
those,
where I
with
need
those
to,
moo boots. I don't know.
yes. And I need to interject because this is what makes you an amazing friend and amazing at relationships. So side story is one of the trips we were about to, you were about to go in and speak, and I put this dress on. And I thought that this dress was helping to minimize certain areas. I thought this dress was, making me look presentable. And it was so hysterical because I'm standing in front of the mirror and I turn around and Jessie just looks at me and she's like, maybe you should wear something. And it was funny because it was that moment that I was like, ooh, shocker. I don't look like what I think I look like in this dress. And I'm like, this dress actually does da 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 to me, doesn't it? She was like, yes, I'm sorry. I was like, no.
But when you changed, you went out for that show and you looked smoking hot, right? Like you looked great.
It was so great. I
And
still have that dress and I look at it. It hangs in my closet because I'm not at the place where I can wear it yet. Someday, maybe I can, but that is not today. And I look at it and I'm like, challenge accepted. Someday I will be able to wear you.
Someday I'll look great in that dress. That's
yes,
right.
someday I will. But the fact is though, is that you wanted to spare me basically the humiliation of being on display in the wrong way just because patterns and blocking was just not good with my frame. So anyway, you scared me, from going out there and actually not feeling or looking my best and having the judgment of others looking and criticizing my outfit and speaking against me and like me inwardly cursing myself thinking I don't look good or something and other people doing it inside of them. So I appreciate that so much. You're the friend that if you got a green thing right here, you're gonna be like,
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna be like,
now go
right there. No. And again, that's not like being critical. It's honoring the relationship. Exactly. Like you don't want to have them go out and looking horrible. So if it really doesn't look good, say, I hate to tell you this, but that dress, and you don't have to, I guess the way to word it is not to say you look fat or, that makes you look big or that makes you look horrible. Like you don't want to compliment on necessarily or attack the individual. What you say is that style does not look right, or maybe that color's not right. That doesn't fit you like it should. It doesn't, accentuate what it should. So, if we say it that way, and I know, women, we have to be gentle with men, like listen to your men. If they're giving you a look, don't beat them up because they're being honest. Maybe let them help you shop or try on stuff and say, should I wear this or this? Give them the option to tell you what looks good on you. So that's probably the best way to approach that, is that we need to not beat up those who are being honest because they're trying to save us the humiliation and the embarrassment.
Amen. So I have to rat out the same male member of my family.
Oh no, not Mr. Let's not have that again.
here's husbands, here's what not to do. Okay, so when your wife comes downstairs and she says, honey, how do I look? Do not say, again, if you want to live through the end of the year, do not say, don't you have anything else you could put on?
I personally would think that would be a better response than, my God, honey, go take that off. it was? I had the old lady lip kissers in my childhood. Those Catholic women that would come with
Oh,
the big lipstick and the big purses. I mean, they carried everything in those purses. I mean, it was better than an ammo bag that the military had, I'm telling you. They definitely are more equipped for any situation than our US military, but
they've got stuff from the Paleolithic era down in there. Yes,
they'd have the
they're equipped.
lipstick and the big jewelry and the outfits that were bright and just like you're like,
And the extra spit.
wow, that just needs some toning down, honey. We're not trying to make fun of, but it's like, what do like, I guess it's that honoring again. Like, how do we say things? We all, to be honest, we all have thoughts. We have natural reactions towards what we see. And, that's what I'm bringing out. And I think back to one of my sons, actually, when he was little, had to be like, he was either 4 or 5. And we're driving one day to the store. And all of a sudden, it's like as I'm trying to park, he starts saying something about people. And he's like, but it wasn't nice stuff. He was like, he's like something about like her hanging out or something like that. And then he went to like the next lady, like look how big her butt looks at those pants, and like every imperfection he was pointing out. And I was like, shh, stop. I was like, stop. But then as I'm looking, I'm like, he's just blatantly being honest. Like, he's like calling out things just as it is. That's the type of kid he is. And so we know that people have these thoughts, and honoring means that if we have the thought, instead of just keeping it to ourselves and allowing that person to continue to be in situations where others are having those same thoughts, the honoring thing would be to, just share and say, hey, that really does not look good on you. Maybe something else would look better. Can I help you as you try on a few things? Or, even the point of, I can remember, my great grandmother one time, and it wasn't even anything bad, but she just looked at me and was like, you're not going out in public in that shirt. Like, go back and change. Maybe we need to be that blunt, So
Sometimes.
sometimes we might just need to be. So yeah, so again, try to do it in a way we don't want to make fun, we don't want to tear down, we don't want to destroy. And if we know somebody's struggling with something in their appearance or their body, maybe be that encouragement to help them change. That's what we need to do, but we can't force people if they choose not to change. We can't force that. And sometimes, sadly, we have to watch others destroy themselves with their bad habits, that's difficult to go through, but that's a topic for another day.
That is a topic for another day. So we'll write that one down and come back to it at some point in time. What to do in that situation. So awesome. Awesome. All right. How about, want to pray us out?
Yes. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day and this conversation. And I just ask that you would release to us honesty and honor, Lord, that we would be in that place where we can respect and build up and encourage and strengthen each other in our relationships. I ask that you would release relationships where we are delighting and taking joy in one another and pleasure in one another, Father. I ask that our intimacy with you would increase, Lord, that we would wake up excited to spend our time with you that day, excited to pray, excited to share our relationship with you with others. And I ask that we would be excited about our marriages, Lord, that we would be able to display our love openly with each other, that there would be no more holding back, that you would give us a season where marriages are intimate and again, where we take joy and delight and pleasure in one another, Lord, and that our children see that they see that display of how a healthy marriage should look, because it reflects our relationship with you. So we just praise you and we thank you, and we pray all this in your powerful name, Jesus.
Amen. Amen. Very good. We will see you next time.